ìjọba, òṣèlú, oníkà tí Mallam Aminul-Lahi Jatto tí mo mọ̀ bá wa sọ inshallah ta'ala abẹ́rẹ́ ọ̀kọ̀rọ̀ òṣèlú ọ̀kọ̀rọ̀ kò gbà lẹ́sẹ̀ fún wa.
Alhamdulillah alladhi hadana li hadha wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah nahmaduhu wa nashkuruhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkal alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna muhammadan rasulullah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulina sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam wa ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, we thank Allah for making us Muslims. As some people have indicated at the beginning, I would have wished to speak in language which everybody will understand. But it is already a reality that whether we like it or not, we may have to speak some other languages like English, because our message is not restricted to only Yoruba speaking community. So may Allah accept our effort. The topic is influence, power, and authority as prelude to political goal. In the introduction, anything called goal means it is the benefit, what you intend to gain from engaging in any affair or activities at all. Among the three major questions that human beings must answer regarding our life, which we must also bother ourselves about when we get back to our world, what is the concept, what is the issue, and the second is how we go about it, and the third is why. That why is this goal, purpose for doing anything at all. So when we get back to Allah, and it is the most important question to us, it is the one that will tell whatever anybody has done in this world, why he has done it. And it is the one that will bring about reward or punishment, depending on the purpose for which anybody has carried out his action. And that's what is implied in the hadith of the Rasul that says, Aniya Innamal a'malu binniyat. All works, all action, which we could call what and how, the importance of the two is why, the intention for doing it. So these are Al-Harakatul Islamiyyah 1445 leadership course. We are trying to see what is the essence of political goal. The essence of political goal will be the essence of what the concept of politics itself, or the concept of politicking. That is how politics is being played. That's what we call politicking. So it comes in different forms. The one that is very common to us is the political campaign. You see people here and there. And all other so many political activities, like the meetings and all that, which we are all familiar with. But the importance of all this, the essence of all this is why we do them. So inshallah, we are going to be defining all concepts and issues that are related to this political group or politics as a concept. The first of such to be examined is the concept of politics itself. Politics is a set of activities that are associated with making decisions that affect even every individual and the public generally, and to require what we call influence, what we call power, what we call authority, to be able to make such decisions. The decision may relate to distribution of resources or assigning of social status or position to the people in the community. The other definitions of politics include biased political decision making, biased, that may favor some people and it will go against some other people's interests. And they normally use what we call an unequal influence, power, and authority to make such decisions. That's why I say decision is made by those decision makers and those upon whom it is binding. Those decisions are binding. So three things have come out there: influence, power, and authority. Politics is also defined as the authoritative allocation of resources or values in a very common and very simple way. Politics is who gets to what, how, when, and why. Whatever anybody is going to get, whether physical thing or intangible thing, what is it that somebody is going to get? Who will get it? How will he get it? When will he get it? And why will that person get it? And of course, the opposite. Who will not get it? How that person will not get it? And why somebody will not get it? It's also implied here. So while politics and political processes may be civil and thereby serve as a source of peace and happiness in certain community, it can also be sources of woes and sadness in the same community, depending on how the political actors handle the play of politics. Influence is a very simple term. It means to affect or change someone or something in an indirect but usually important way. There are positive and negative influences. Power is the capacity to influence, to lead, to dominate, or otherwise to have an impact on the life and actions of others in the society. The concept of power is not limited, but it can include the notion of authority, as I have said. One may or may not have the right to possess power, but if one has the capacity to dominate others, the person will continue to influence the life of those other people and their behavior. Most often, people wrongly acquire and misuse power. And that's why we hear of power corrupts and corrupts. Absolutely. Sometimes, because of the tendency for people to misuse power, we say power has been classified as usable power, unusable power, or legitimate power or illegitimate power, depending on the philosophy and the law that back up the use of power. Like the one, I'm still going to come to the practical terms. the topic looks very theoretical, but I'm going to try as much as possible to apply all these lessons to our present experiences.
Yeah, I go close.
All these we have said have been used, particularly in Gaza now. What we call usable power are power that may not go to the extent of taking life. Or they can even take life, but not to a very high level of magnitude of destruction. But unusable power is like nuclear weapon. So what is it they have not used now? What happened in Ibadan 3 days ago, 4 days ago? The dynamite that exploded at Bodija. If you look at the picture on the social media, it's as powerful as lifting a whole bulldozer, as heavy as bulldozer is. The vibration of the explosion carried the bulldozer and put it on top of another vehicle. And people have testified that where there are houses before, the thing blew up the houses as if there was no house there before. So when I was watching it, I told the person who sent it to me, I said, this is what they are doing to our brothers in Gaza. They are using, and in their own concept of power, they are called unusable power. They must not be used. That one is even different from the chemical weapon, which takes another dimension. That one can come in the form of air. And once it is circulated and breathed in, every living thing will just die. They are using all of them. That's why those who talk to us in the United States, they actually got the talk. But while I'm brother was talking, it was not because our brothers have any power. They don't have any power. But what is coming to play is the power of Allah. Allah is showing that even the usable and the unusable power, there is none that can contest the power of Allah. There is none Allah cannot put under check. That is what is happening there. Power, this is the concept of power that we're talking about. There are different types of power depending on the factors that translate to power. We have what we call political power. That refers to what we call government, or it is also called political authority. It is the use of political position or agencies or paraphernalia to favor some people and suppress the right of others. Military power refers to the military might used to influence and subdue others. Economic power is the use of economic means or opportunities to either favor, exploit, or oppress some other people. Spiritual power is that which has to do with having connection with Allah, the actual spiritual power. And it is only granted to the righteous ones, the righteous Muslims, who merit it. Maybe by virtue of some of their activities, their services to Allah, because of Allah. Then there is fetish power. So under this we have so many. The power of jinn, use of jinns, or the power of shaitan, or even the power of all those magical power, they are still all under this fetish power. Authority is the power or the right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience. We have a lot to say, that's why I'm going at this rate. The term authority identifies political legitimacy, which grants and justifies the rulers or the leaders' right to exercise power of governance. While the term power identifies the ability to accomplish an authorized goal, either by compliance or by obedience. Power is therefore authority is therefore the power to make decisions and the legitimacy to carry out or to implement the decisions that are made. This is talking about the laws that back up implementation of public decisions. Now, government. You know, our topic is how to influence power and authority. These three things, how do they translate to political goals? You see the relationship, as we are discussing, we see the relation between all these terms. Government is the system itself that has all that we have been talking about. Government houses the influence, power, authority, and government itself, and the action of the people, and even the people upon whom these concepts are being implemented upon. So, the Colombian Encyclopedia defines government as a system of social control under which the right to make laws and the right to enforce them is vested in a particular group in the society. This is talking about a group of leaders who command obedience of the followers according to stipulated laws. When you say something is a system, government is a system. When you say something is a system, we are saying that it's a whole. Every other thing is within it. Which is the idea of government. Now, how does politics serve as machinery for establishing and operating a government? Politics as machinery for establishing and operating a government. From the foregoing definitions, it is understood that while all the terms are related, some of them actually lead to the other. Influence, power, and authority are needed to make political decisions. Don't forget that political decision itself is what we call politics. Via political process. Why politics itself, which influence, power, and authority has led to now, is itself essentially a machinery with which leaders or rulers govern. And I say that influence, power, and authority leads to politics, while politics itself leads to government. I hope we are following. Now, this concept looks very straightforward, especially when we look at it from the Islamic perspective. You discover that there is nothing the people of knowledge or the scientists, whether social scientists or natural physical scientists, there is nothing they will do. There is nothing they will do. There is nothing they have done, and there is nothing they will do again that is still outside the realm of what Allah has permitted human beings to do. There is nothing. There is nothing they will do that is outside. So that is why even social science concepts like politics, if you go to the Quran, you see the definition of it. And every other thing, even the science, the physical science, if you study the Quran very well, you see specific parts of the Quran that is defining every concept. So that is why it always baffles me if the scientists are not foremost in becoming Muslims. It baffles me because it is as if they have gone to look at the Quran and picked those concepts for implementation. So, for our information, you see this verse of the Quran I'm about to read, it clearly defines what is called policy. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah 2, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَكُمْ خَلَائِفَ الْأَرْضِ ورفع بعضكم فوق بعض درجات ليبلوكم فيما آتاكم إن ربك سريع العقاب وإنه لغفور رحيم. And he it is who has made you successors in the land and raised some of you above others by various grades, that he might try you by what he has given you. And surely your Lord speak to the quick evil, and he is most surely the forgiving, the merciful. Allah, the Creator, further explains precisely the concept of politics when he also says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدَ فِيهِ بَأْسٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ مَا يَنصُرُهُ وَرُسُلَهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. Certainly, we sent our apostles with clear explanations and sent down with them the book and the balance, that mankind may conduct themselves with equity. And we have made the iron wherein is great power and benefit to mankind, and that Allah may know who helps him and his apostle in secret. Surely Allah is strong, mighty. Emphasizing the importance of the need of government, Umar was reported to have said, Sultan, or authority, which could also mean power or government, enforces or establishes what Al-Quran, the revealed book, cannot enforce or establish. It is implied from the above verses of the Quran and the saying of Umar that there cannot be effective implementation of the Quran or the divine revelations without upright leadership or government, just as it is impossible for decisions in any society or system to become actualized without a government. I hope the information there is very clear. That is why sometimes we should just continue to thank Allah for granting us this kind of understanding we have. The understanding we have here is unique, and it is not by our power. It's just a favor from Allah. It's just like when you see Brother Yusuf Adepoju dialoguing with the Christians. Most of the time, he will continue to chant praises of Allah, gratitude to Allah for to have guided us. Because it will look so stupid when he starts quoting Bible for them and telling them how the Bible has contradicted itself, and he'll be asking them, which one will you go for? Is it this one? Is it this one? And they'll be dumbfounded. At that point, those Allah wants to guide among them will just say, I want to accept Islam. And those Allah does not want to guide will go on their own. The case of I made reference to that because I want to talk about other Muslims who parade themselves as the custodian of Islam. They said they have acquired all sorts of degrees. If there is anything about professors, they have gotten them. But when they talk, you pity them. When they talk, you pity them. We have them so many, very much around us. There are so many of them in my mosque. I'll be asking them. That's where we have God. If you do not reckon with God, how are you going to implement the Quran? In their madrasa, they teach the children tafsir of the Quran, ulum al-hadith, fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic ruling. Then I was asking them, I said, how do you want, they did one hafla, was not in the Quran in the last Sunday. When I got back, I was asking, I said, how do you want these things you are teaching your children to become implemented in the Quran? I mean, in the society. Do you know what Allah says in the Quran? Look at this verse in Surah Al-Hadid. Allah is not saying that all these things, you know what Allah has said here? You will get there. Allah is talking about the concept of government, and He has told us that He has revealed, He has brought revelation as a legislation, and He said He has made that in the revelation they should derive what we call justice, the judiciary. And He has told us that to back it up, He has revealed the symbol of power. So who is it today that will come and tell us that government is made up of legislation, judiciary, and executive? When just a single verse of the Quran has even summarized everything. This very verse. You can see the three are mentioned here. So if any Muslim, that's why our father, Umar Radiallahu Anhu, is telling us that that Quran cannot even be implemented if there is no righteous leadership, the government. So it is those who deceive themselves that will be reciting the Quran for recitation's sake. The Quran, Allah, is not meant to be recited alone, though its name is taken from to recite something that is often recited, but it is to be applied to our life. If it is not applied to our life, then it has no meaning. It doesn't have any meaning. Because if a scientist goes to the laboratory, the pharmacist, if they go to the pharmaceutical industry to formulate drug, they will not even tell you what have been put together. All you just know is the name. But most important to you is to take in that drug, so that your ailment will be resolved, be cured. So the similitude of what some Muslims, majority of Muslims today are doing is that let's just have knowledge of Islam. For what purpose? So the Quran is very clear about this. It is therefore not logical to classify third world countries via the position of unfavorable economic policies on the poor nations, the devaluation of the weak nations' currencies, and pillaging of the raw materials of the so-called third world countries. You know, the advantage classify us as such. Yes. First word. Advanced word, but we don't know the second word. We only know the third word. You can see the greatest level of injustice. And what they can do is, those things are listed there. Time will not permit me to explain them. The international conspiracies, intimidation, coercion, threats, and blackmail of the weak nations by the powerful nations, for the future of the weak nations to embrace negative values toward their LGBT and the likes. You know, of recent, they held a meeting in which country was appointed it all over the social media. I've forgotten now. Check that all the African countries and the Asian countries that have refused to buy into their negative values, LGBT, the concept of same-sex marriage, transgender, a male turning himself to a female, and a female turning herself to a male. Abominations, things that should not be done. One of my brother-in-law's child is in Australia, New Zealand, one of those places. She went there to read medicine. She has finished. She was telling my daughter 3 days ago that she cannot get married there. My daughter said, why? She said, there is no man to marry a woman. That there men marry men, women marry men.
Yeah.
So she's having a thought now to come back to Nigeria. If she must marry. They are there, but they have changed the natural pattern. Allah wants us to. What takes me there is that this is the impact of the politics of the powerful over the weak, to the extent that they are now sanctioning all the African nations that have refused to sign. Who will help me open my WhatsApp? I think all of us have read it. About 34 countries refused to sign. Nigeria is one of those who refused to sign. And they have said they wanted them to sign that LGBT and the likes should be legalized. So the countries that refuse to sign, they are now sanctioning them. They will not do this for them. They will not do economic development and all sorts of things. So there is creation and imposition of diseases such as HIV, AIDS, COVID, and their like. Lethal vaccines targeted at reducing weak and populous nations, their demographic status, and powerful nations covert and plans to market their products. What I mean here is that the same people who are saying it is not civilized to be giving birth as we are giving birth in Africa, as a result of that, they do not have what we call manpower for their economic, for their labor market. And that is why as many as our children, our people, particularly in Nigeria, are drifting, are doing a japa to their place, they will continue to absorb them. It's just that as they are going, so if you have anybody that is going, you have to be very careful whether it's going to be treated fairly or unfairly. Because they invited some expatriates, because they have lacked the population to man those areas. They invite some of our children, our people, especially in the medical field, in the IT, and so many other places. They don't have. So when they take those ones there, they pay them and they treat them a little bit fairly, okay. They say that they are sapping them by taking a lot of taxes from them. But there are some other categories that are going, that are used like tissue paper. Subhanallah. They punish them, all sorts of punishment, maltreatment they undergo. We have had somebody has told us here, they are as wicked as using them, having sex with our own women, and even commanding them to be eating their shit. It's as worse as that. And these are the same people who say they don't need population, but they are drawing our own population to misuse and to mishandle them. This is the extent to which. Then you all heard of what happened when COVID came. Immediately that thing came that time, because apart even before AIDS, we have known that this is part of their conspiracy to cause problems for us, so that in the course of seeking solution to those problems, they will be able to sell their vaccines. If it is a problem that will lead to war, they will be able to sell their weapons. So this is the politics that is being played all over the world. Powerful nations and technological and physical wars meant to subdue and gain political control over weak nations. We are witnesses to that. Political exclusiveness theory, by which some cabals perpetuate themselves in power while oppressing the citizens in the society. You all know that this is their own style of politics. You know what is happening in Nigeria now, everywhere. Anybody that has his way there, when Buhari was there, he said it's only the Fulani that is putting in the sensitive positions in Abuja. I don't know, I was not there. But Tinubu is so foolish that this capital city, before now, if you see the tussle between Hausa, Yoruba and Igbo in Abuja, who takes control? It is the same foolishness of Tinubu that made Igbo to almost have upper hand over them in Lagos. And we started with that same mistake by bringing Wike from the east to come and be the Minister of Federal Capital Territory. What do you think will happen? Next theory. Of course, Wike will bring his own people there. By the time he lives there, you'll be surprised that in all the federal ministries and parastatals it will be Igbos and Niger Deltas. It's a common thing because that is what they do in their own politics. So these are few of the things that are happening. Subsidy issue. You can see that what happened in subsidy issue is that it is a way of enriching the rich and making the poor to be poorer, especially the masses. When Tinubu got there and he said, I have removed subsidy, oil subsidy, everybody was hating him, didn't it? Then what happened thereafter? The money was accruing from the subsidy removal. But are you and I, are we feeling it? Yes. Today, 70 or 80% of those of us who have cars, I can't even remember when I put my car on the road. Somebody was asking me that, is this spoiled? I said it's not spoiled, I can't buy fuel.
It's Tinubu that spoiled it. Tinubu that spoiled it.
So, and we are supposed to be enjoying the removal of subsidy. But now, the negotiation, people say instead of renewed hope, it is renewed shaking. Renewed sharing of our resources. Looting is too much. If you see, Falana was giving us analysis of the stealing of looting. Yes, what's happened like that? I was just meeting that Baba. They are just crying. He just sat in one place and he's crying. The man is crying. He was giving us, look, without subsidy, without anything. You see the East, Niger Delta, where we have oil. The truth of the matter is that the money that is accruing to them as a result of the deposit of that oil there, if they want to pay all their citizens 100,000 naira, all of them every month, 100,000 naira, the money will go around and it will still remain. But they cry more than you and I of poverty. So that is the style of politics, of secular politics. Something comes out of it. Now let's quickly go to the difference between the goals of secular political system and Gaza genocide. What I have just done now is to tell, we are going towards what we call goals, political goals. I told us at the beginning that it is what you gain from something that we call goals. What do you benefit from it? The little I have said now, we are all bearing witness to the fact that we are in trouble. Before we continue this, we are in trouble. I specifically want to mention two areas. When Buhari was there, and up till now, the problem has just reduced a little. Majority of those who are guilty of kidnapping and destruction of our farm, you don't know the meaning of these two aspects in our life, child. Do you know that if there is no And if there is no farming, there will be no food.
Hunger.
There will be hunger, right? Majority of those who are guilty of these two offenses are Fulanis. And Buhari was a Fulani man. So, people are thinking, and maybe that thought is correct, that because of the concept of favoritism, he was unable to put them under check. But I know that the issue of Buhari was more than favoritism. And it is not because it was Buhari. If any of us is here too, we will suffer the same experience he suffered. Because a tree does not make forest. The meaning of that is that one good person cannot make a government. We are discussing government, and I told that as a system that happens every other thing. So how could we be putting blame on Buhari or anybody, or even on Tinubu? Even if they have good intention, they can't do it alone. It's a system. There are a lot of synergy, networking that are supposed to work together to produce a result. So, inability of that government to put in place the proper machinery, the proper thing that will make us to get what Allah intends for us as His creatures. It's as a result of lack of good governance. The second aspect is the fact that while he was there and up till now again, the insecurity is on the increase. I saw it yesterday, somebody posted, there's one of those who are in charge of rescue mission in Libya. He was saying that he thinks our militaries or security agents in Nigeria are collaborating with the kidnappers, and that is why it's so difficult to deal with the issue of kidnapping in Nigeria. Is it not true? It's true. He was giving the example of how they were able to track those who traffic a Nigerian girl to that place for sex. The girl was able to send a message to her parents. So they set up the machinery, government machinery, there were talking of machinery, to be able to track them and arrest them. And they succeeded. Initially, when they tracked the phone with which they called for ransom, no, their own is not even ransom. They only want to retrieve them, rescue them from the maltreatment. They took the SIM card and broke it and removed it from the phone. Upon that, the technology is so high now that even when somebody does that, you can still track them. So he said they were able to track them until they got to that place and rescued that girl. So the person was now asking that, what is the problem with Nigerian security? All of that, particularly including the family members of Mallam Sheriff Kadria, may Allah release them safely. Amen. You see what they are doing to those families? See what they are doing to them? You know, Kadri has to relocate from Ilori. You know, it's not in Ilori, it's in Abuja, with his brother, running hectare on how to rescue those children. How on earth would that kind of thing happen? They killed the daughter. You know, 6 of them were arrested with their father. After 5 days, they released the father to go looking for 60 million naira. Or 10 million naira per person to come to ransom the children, the daughters. After 2-3 weeks, they killed the eldest daughter and they were showing us on social media that we have killed this one. This is how we kill them one after the other. And Nigerian securities cannot get to them. Please, I want us to take a lesson in this place. Somebody raised this issue in my mosque, and I have to give a response. The person was accusing and insulting and even cursing Pantami and Gumi. Was causing Gumi and Pantami because to him they are encouraging paying ransom. I told him, I said, these people have their basis, their reason for doing what they are doing. That it is the government who is supposed to protect us. The government is not protecting us. The only option the family of the kidnapped has is to pay ransom.
Or allow them to.
Or they kill them.
Or they kill them. So, how could you blame such people? We should rather put the blame on the government, isn't it?
Yes.
It is the government that should blame. So, let's look at what happened. The discussion of this topic is at both international level, national and local level. We want to end on this note because this particular course, leadership course, the team has to do with the ongoing war in Gaza. But I call it genocide here because it's now beyond war. The secular power savage. You know what a woman calls savage? Subhanallah. I'm just looking for what savage is more grievous than heinous crime against humanity. Notwithstanding, the Muslims of Gaza and the entire Palestine, having conceived and understood the appropriate reaction to the four cardinal evils in the society, in any society, the evils in any society that must be fought against have therefore risen up to challenge or to rise up to the challenge of resisting the wrong committed against the Palestinians by the Israelites. And I say this is called the Hafiz Sabilillah. You see, where I'm dragging us to is that we have just talked about our own case here. You know, there is a solution to the Nigerian case. There is a solution. And the solution is a universal solution. Everywhere where these four problems exist. Number two, love for the world, materialism. Number three, corruption and oppression. Corruption and what? And oppression of the people. And number four, where there is what we call religious corruption of the deen, of the religion. Because it is the deen that should set the matter straight. And that will always lead to refusal to do jihad. Because the only instrument Allah has used to repair a spoiled society is what? Is jihad. But when the religious leaders are corrupt, not only corrupt, and they are corrupting the deen, they will be issuing fatwa, ruling that will not permit the citizens to rise. Did you hear what Suleiman, the former Uganda state governor, said 4 days ago? They asked him about the problem in Nigeria. He said, somebody said, except there is uprising, except there is jihad. I'm the one using the word jihad. Yeah. But what they are saying is uprising. But in Islam, we call it jihad or revolution. Suleiman said, who will do jihad? Who will do uprising in Nigeria? Who will revolt? He said it's not possible because they, who are the elites, the ruling elite, they understand themselves. Regardless of their politics, political differences, religious differences, ethnic differences, which is all there. That's what they understand themselves. So no matter how much they quarrel, they know how to settle themselves. Then he said, the people who should rise up are the masses, and that these masses have been bought by them. Who again is going to rise? Who will rise? Is it not true? It's true. So because of that, but our brothers in the Gaza, they have understood far, far beyond our level here. And that is why when they notice that any of those 4 things, don't forget, manifest disbelief in Allah, materialism, corruption, mischief and oppression, corruption of the team. Was any or 2 or 3 or the 4 set in any society, the only reasonable thing to do is what? Is to do jihad. And that is why they have gone to the extent they have gone with the Israelites. They have suffered, but it's not going to be a suffering. So you can see it there. In other words, when the fundamental objectives of Sharia, the Islamic legal system, you can look at the analysis again from this angle. There is what we call the Maqasid Sharia. Maqasid Sharia, they are the following things. When they are violated in any society, that society does not have any option than to do what? To do jihad. Number 1, to preserve the citizens' wealth. Number 2, to preserve people's life. Number 3, to preserve the religion from being corrupted. Number 4, to preserve the intellect and not allow it to be corrupted. And number 5, to preserve the lineage. Preserve the lineage. That is, people, you can see the extent people have gone. The so-called powerful nations, I don't want to call them advanced or civilized. They are not civilized at all. They are now mandating others to go beyond. You know what Sharia contemplates here? It's even male and female illegal relationship. When we are talking of to purify the lineage, that people should marry and have a legal, a pure marital life. That's what the Sharia is saying here. Have to preserve that. But now they have gone to the extent of saying male can marry male, female can marry female, male can marry animal, female can marry animal. No, they are doing it. What is it they are not doing? So, once these things set in any society, the society has no option than to do what? Jihad. So that's what Islam taught us. Now, I'm saying that this struggle, which has begun over how many years, when people are talking, they say it's 75 years ago. The people in Palestine, they didn't start that struggle in 75 years ago. What started in 75 years ago was the establishment of the mega state of Israel. These people have been suffering more than 100 years back. Go to history. I hope you know that that is the place where Allah Ta'ala decided to choose to raise over 90 of his prophets. Do you know that? The Israelites are more than 90% of the prophets of Allah. Do you know that? Go back to, start from Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam and begin to study what we call the tree of prophethood. you get this fact. This information is on the net. Can Google it. Most of them live there and die there. For any stupid person who is telling us that they are fighting for land, it's not land though. People in Palestine, they are not fighting for land though. Even if they are fighting for land, who will still know that land? It's Islam. It's Islam. They are fighting for the whole world. That is what the Catholic was telling us yesterday. That the fight there is the fight for the whole world. That Richard. So these people have suffered, and they have thought it nice that their struggle reached the critical stage on the 7th of October 2023. In my own understanding, the attack Al-Harakatul Islamiyyah Hamas, meaning Islamic resistance movement, launched against the Israelites was therefore a justified response to the continued aggression and oppression which they have constantly suffered from the hands of the Jews, the Zionist army, and the government and their government. So when Muslims attain this level of understanding and thereby bring about the Islamic Jihad or Islamic revolution, human beings could be said to be on the right pedestrian to civility, righteousness, and liberation that will lead to peaceful life and divine pleasure, as well as attainment of the Islamic spiritual goal. This is, however, always accompanied by a considerable level of sacrifice of the believers. The believers' souls are wept. Those who end up with this supreme sacrifice do attain the supreme achievement, martyrdom in the cause of Allah. So as far as I'm concerned, the sacrifice of our brothers in Palestine cannot be described. And those who talked to us in the night yesterday made it very, very clear. It cannot be quantified. But to us, and the onlookers, we are thinking that their sacrifice is too much, isn't it? Be easy the time, Allah will make them not to feel the pain. Allah will, it's automatic. Allah has said it, they will all attain martyrdom. And the most honorable form of death that will entitle them to the most honorable place in Al-Jannah. With Allah, it's as simple as that. It is we, human beings, that are looking at it. Mallam was saying something yesterday. When those children were thrown stone, in the course of this struggle, they will catch a small boy throwing stone, for goodness sake. You are carrying gun and somebody is throwing stone. You went and catch him and put his hand on the table, on the floor, and use hammer to break that hand. Can you imagine? So, but Allah is aware and Allah knows how to. There is this hadith of the Rasul that says, After Nas, Mu'minun, Mujahiduna fi sabilillah, binafsihi wa malihi, summa mu'minun, Sha'bi min Sha'bi, Yattaqillaha, Yad'un nas, min Sha'bi. Rabu Hadith. And the person who brought the hadith is called Abi Sa'id. The Rasul says the best of mankind is a believer who strives in the cause of Allah with his soul. This hadith, if you have Muslim hadith, where this hadith is built from, there are 4 other hadiths that came before this one. That hadith was, they were describing who is a Muslim, who is a mu'min, who is a muhsin. According to the arrangement there, beyond who is a Muslim, A degree higher is who is a muhajir, according to the hadith there. And the peak of them is who is a mujahid. And that is what this hadith says. And we have all these people in our society today. So the peak of it is that be a mu'min, not only a mu'min, and that's when I started this lecture. I said we should thank Allah for putting us on this path. Who will distinguish themselves from what the general public do? You can see that is why our own struggle is unpopular. Because we are very few. Because we are trying to be the odd one out. We are very few. Because we are trying to distinguish ourselves according to this hadith. I'm talking of the hadith I quoted last. Where is it? Please take me there. I'm trying to. You've gone. Yes. This hadith. That if you get to that peak, you distinguish yourself. And that is why if you look at my discussion here, where I'm about to conclude, I'm concluding on the note that you will never see people complying with those things I said about the four things that when they exist in any society, Muslims should rise from jihad, or when the Makosid Sharia, when they are violated, Muslims will stand up for jihad. You will never see any group of people standing up except the Al-Harakatul Islamiyyah. When I was writing this lecture, one of my children took me up that why should I say the Harakatul? I said, I'm not talking of the Harakatul Islamiyyah in there. I now explain to them, because I now explain to them that go and look at the history of the world. Anywhere you hear that people rise up against these things we have mentioned, according to Sharia, those who violate it, and when they are violated in the society, those who will rise to revive it, or when those four things that I mentioned, when they exist, those who will rise, they cannot be any group of people except Al-Harakatul Islamiyyah. Do you think it is a coincidence for the people who are championing the cause in Ghana to be bearing Haraka and Al-Harakatul Islamiyyah? It's not they may not even bear that name. Sometimes they could bear any other name, but they will do that same work. That work. Those who will rise against these things when they are present in their society. That's what I'm saying. So it took me time to be able to explain to them, and they later got it that, okay, I'm talking. So, the political, so we are concluding now, the true political goal is establishing Allah's rule on that. And this is ultimately attained where we have to say that the plans of which is not hidden in the cause of Allah. Only the set of Islamic strugglers endowed with this understanding are realistic enough to proclaim and uphold the struggle in the cause of Allah anywhere on the globe today. This is the hard reality. The Muslims in Gaza, led by Hamas, are going through. Oh Allah, they are your faithful servants. Grant them support against all the harms inflicted on them by your enemies. Grant them victory in this world and accept them as sincere martyrs. Weaken the enemies, humiliate them, disgrace them in this life and the hereafter.
You don't put anything on top. Maybe Tabati and down.
So to correct from our brothers first. So to feel at the correction, at the Tabati and àṣàtù lásán fún àwọn tẹ́sì. It looks like prayer. It's not playing. Mallam said it yesterday.
You are blocking the.
Allah is accepting this one we are doing. So anybody wants to call it media, it's his own problem.
He himself is media. Alhamdulillah, Mallam ní ẹ̀sán nípa àwọn àlàyé tí wọ́n ṣe fún wa ní Islam wa ó ṣe pé lẹ́sìn tó lójú ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ayé wa bá sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ìṣèlú bá ṣe ṣèlú wọ́n ṣe ṣe láyé tá a wọ̀ lónìí Islam ṣe fẹ́ ká ṣe tí ó fi já sí pé a rí ọ̀nà ọlọ́run lórí sí wa àti gbìyànjú tí wọ́n so mọ́ táwọn ọmọ ìyá wa tí wọ́n wà ní Gaza tí wọ́n ń ṣe wọ́n sì mú ìṣèlú Islam tí bá ti ṣe ọ̀pọ̀ sínú ṣàríyà wọ́n sì mú lò gbogbo ẹni wọ́n ṣe àlàyé fún wa ṣe àlàyé tí bá wọlé padà áfà ilẹ̀ fún ìgbéèrè tó ń dábàárẹ̀ tó ní àfikún. Inshallah, kó tó lè lẹ́jọ́ Murshid Olasi tí àwọn ẹ̀wọ̀n padà olóògbọ́lọ́ ọmọ alẹ́ ìyẹn yóò lọ àti tàbí kí n sọ